Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for another Garage Gun Talk and First Impressions. And before we talk about the guns that I recently took to the range and things that are going to be filmed for upcoming reviews on the main channel, I just want to say it has been a wild few days on this channel, my little behind the scenes channel. So I guess before we go any further, I just need to remind people about a couple things. This is my second channel. This is like, what is it, Mr. Guns and Gear's B channel, I think is what he calls, where it's not like full fleshed out videos. This is just where I put my phone on the workbench and I talk about guns and politics and current events, and that's it. This is not supposed to be a big channel. I'm not here to get big. This is not edited content. It is casual, behind the scenes, hopefully personable stuff with my biggest fans. So that's what this channel is. I know a lot of people have found my channel, or this channel more specifically, and I don't think understand what the philosophy of this is, but I make, I hope, higher quality, polished gun reviews where I use better equipment and cameras and audio equipment and lights, and you can see all the range footage. There's a link in the description below to my main channel. So that is what I do, and I just happen to have this one viral video that happened on this channel that I was not expecting, and the subscriber count has just blossomed, and so I really feel like I'm going to disappoint a lot of people because I guess they're going to subscribe to this channel thinking they're going to get that type of content all the time. And really, this is just a channel where me, as an average geeky gun guy that's just a collector and enthusiast, gets to talk about guns and things that I'm working on for the main channel. So that is what this is. So if you've subscribed, I hope you enjoy it. I hope I don't disappoint you if you're a new subscriber. But that's what it is, and I am also backlogged on replying to all the comments. One of the things I do strive on my channels is to reply to every comment that I get. And because I have that one viral video from a couple days ago that just went over 200,000 views, I have so many comments, and I'm trying to go through them in like big chunks. But it's probably going to take me weeks or months to get through them all. And hopefully I will be able to do that in time. So if I did not reply to your comment, it's not that I'm ignoring you. It's just that I am currently overwhelmed. And I still have everything else I have to do here at the Texas Gun Vault. Reviewing silencers, guns, products, that kind of stuff. And then my own life, you know, personal family, and then my day job as a music teacher. So anyway. So let's talk about the first impressions on a few things. Now, I also got to give a caveat about this. My first impressions videos are not reviews. I often get people find these kind of first impressions videos and go, that wasn't a very good review, I didn't like it, or you don't talk about, you don't show any... This is not a review. I literally just got home from the range and want to share my initial thoughts with people, and hopefully if you're subscribed here, you're subscribed on the main channel so you can see kind of the process and what to expect on the main review when it comes out sometime in the future. So anyway, the first thing I took to the range, and actually it was last night, and it's something I've been trying my best to get to the range and get some footage on. It is the CGS Suppressors LLC Hyperion K 30 caliber suppressor. This is a 3D printed suppressor that CGS Suppressors makes. You know, a lot of suppressor companies are going to this additive manufacturing process. And this one I mentioned, I think, in a previous video. I'm kind of disappointed in the way it looks, because if you've ever spent any time around 3D printed objects, you can tell that they're 3D printed. They have kind of a rough texture. You can see where the filament that was used to either melt or create the object, you can kind of see it in the outline, and that's what you get here. So the finish on this is a little bit, in my opinion, I don't know, not so good. And then back here where we have the mount, you can see it's just real rough. Just real rough. And for me, that... I'm not really concerned about it. I just kind of feel like if you're going to be making, you know, suppressors that have to contain a lot of force and a lot of pressure, I don't know, you just want it to look better than that. You know, perception is reality. And a lot of times those 3D printed things that you can get, you know, those little tchotchkes and things, you can tell that they're not that good of quality. Now, I'm not saying this isn't good quality or it's not made well, but as I said, perception is a reality. But I took it to the range. I used my Seekins Precision SBR in 300 Blackout as the host weapon, and it worked good. You know, I told you in a previous video that I have been struggling with this particular gun because I have not been able to get it to run subsonic ammo well. And let's see if I get this on here right. It's not threading on right. It's threading on. And that's the other thing I've had an issue with this suppressor. Like, it does not go on straight. There we go. I just don't want to cross thread it. It just goes on there a little bit weird. That mount is not that good. So there it is. But I was able to get this rifle with the new trigger and the new gas block to cycle supersonics just fine. And this will now cycle subsonics with this suppressor. And I think I was shooting 200 grain subsonic 300 Blackout. But I was able to run it enough where I could get enough footage. And overall, the suppressor's tone is pretty good. I definitely think it's, performance-wise, is kind of a mid-tier. I was impressed, though, when it came to the point of impact shift, or the lack thereof, and the ballistics change. It was almost reading identical on the chronograph with this gun, suppressed and unsuppressed. Very impressed with that, but not a big fan of the tone, and there's a lot of back pressure on this one. And maybe I've just been a little bit spoiled lately because I've been reviewing a lot of those flow-through suppressors, like the OSS, the Huxworks, the Knights Armament, that when I went to this, we got a lot of gas coming through the ejection port. So, yeah, it wasn't bad. It's just an okay suppressor, you know. I think I'm going to give it kind of a decent mid-range review, 3.5 star review. I think there are definitely better options out there, but maybe this is the type of suppressor that interests you, and you know you want to go in that direction. So it works. It works. It's okay. It's okay. Just not the best 30 cal suppressor I've ever reviewed. All right, so that was the first thing, and I'm glad, as I said, I got to the range to review that, because every time I tried to go to the range on that one, there were always people there. And every time I try to review guns suppressed, I try to do it at the range when no one's there. And in case you're wondering, I'm a VIP member of the Frisco Gun Club, and I have 24-hour biometric access to these kind of private lanes. But, of course, other members can be there. And I usually go at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And normally no one's there. But, oh my gosh, the past few times I've gone there, like 10 o'clock at night, people are there, but they bring their friends, which is fine. And I'll kind of wait around because, you know, they're shooting unsuppressed pistols. So it kind of, you know, ruins the footage for shooting suppressed rifles or pistols or whatever. All right, so the next thing that I reviewed was the Q Boombox. The Q Boombox. Now, ignore this big scope that's on it right now, because I reviewed this both at the 25 and the 100-yard range, and obviously this is set up for the 100-yard range, and this is a older scope that was sent to the channel for review, but I really like it. I think it's Discovery Opt. I just use this when I need to throw something onto a rifle when I'm going to shoot at 100 yards, and it works really well. I've never had a big issue with it, but it's an interesting gun, and my problem with this gun is really the caliber. 8.6 Blackout, for me, is, I'm sure for some people it's a fantastic cartridge, and it's an answer to a question that they've been asking. But for me, it doesn't really serve much of a purpose. And when I shoot it, I really can't kind of figure out anything about it that I like. And let me explain. So, it's a very expensive round. Very expensive round. It's supposed to be a heavy-hitting round that's typically subsonic out to longer distances, supposed to be flat shooting. And I believe the parent case is 7.62 by 51, so you can use like standard 308 magazine. So here it is right here. So that is 8.6 Blackout. And for me, it's obviously very expensive. It's not really designed to be a defensive carbine type of a caliber, although I did try to review it as that in the beginning. Like, hey, I'm just going to shoot this at 10, 17, 25 yards off the shoulder like a defensive carbine, because look at this gun. We have the telescoping stock on it. Yes, this is an SBR. And so thank you so much, D, once again, for your time and for filling out the paperwork, allowing me to borrow this. It means a lot. But it's not a great caliber for that. I mean, if you're going to have a home defense rifle, 5.56, 300 blackout, I think is the way to go. So it's not really good for that. It's a little bit more recoiling than 300 blackout and doesn't really offer many advantages that 300 blackout does not. And then for me, when I go out to further distances, when I shot this out to 100 yards, just like my experiences with the B&T APR 8.6, it was okay. I mean, I want to say I got a group at 100 yards, I don't know, about that maybe, which is okay. It's not like the 308 or the 300 Win Mag that I also reviewed. But for me, it's an inconsistent caliber. It's hard to shoot. What this is to me is a gun that looks like a defensive carbine, right? Like a home defense, truck gun or something of that nature. But it's really designed for hunting and longer distance shooting with suppressed subsonic ammunition. For me, it's just not something that I really see much of a need in, because I think there's better calibers to do both those in. But as I said, I'm not in any way disparaging it, because I know there's a lot of people that have, spent time in the R&D of this gun and this caliber. And there's a lot of people that think 8.6 is this amazing caliber. It's perfect for them, and that's awesome. For me, as a kind of a gun collector, and it just doesn't serve much of a purpose. But I can see it. It's cool if it was cheaper. I mean, if you could get 8.6 at the same price you can get 308, yeah, it would definitely be worth it. But it's really, really expensive. And that's another thing, too. When I reviewed this, D also gave me some ammunition, and I tried to use as little ammunition as possible. So it's not like I was doing mag dump after mag dump with this. I also had the opportunity on this review to get to review two, or actually shoot it with two suppressors. I'm going to show you those right now. And these are both Q suppressors. Now, unfortunately, I don't think I have enough ammunition to do like a proper review. I would love to do a review on these to get the chronograph data and to demonstrate all that, but I just don't think I'm going to have the ammo to do that, because it's just too freaking expensive. But the two suppressors we have are the Q Short Chop, and this is specifically designed for 8.6, and you have the Pork Chop, and pork is spelled P-O-R-Q, and obviously one is a little bit longer than the other, and obviously you would think this one would be a little bit better because it's a little bit more suppression, but I'll be honest with you, I shot most of the time with the Short Chop. I felt when I shot it at the 25-yard range, it did not really affect the accuracy of the gun at all, like the groups were the same as it was unsuppressed. This just didn't shoot as well, and I thought for the extra length, you don't get that much better of tone difference. So I was expecting this one to be a lot lower in tone, it to be quieter. No, I like the performance of the shorter one, and I kind of felt, because it's a subsonic round, this is by far the better suppressor of the two. It's a suppressor with a large volume. I mean, it works good, great tone. It was a perfect match for the Boombox. Perfect match. So for the most part, that's what I reviewed it on. I think I only did one or two things at the range and caught footage with the pork chop. Everything else, I was using the Short Chop, and this was honestly the best setup for this gun. So yeah, I mean, it's a great gun. I had no issues with it. I felt overall it had good, what I call practical accuracy for an average gun person like myself. The trigger's really nice. Biggest downside, okay, there is one thing. I'm probably going to talk a lot about this in the review. The stock. This stock, in my opinion, has to go, because two reasons. The length of pull is way too short. So I'm 6 foot tall, and I know a lot of people say, you're fat. Oh, we'll talk about that in a minute. I got a lot of mean comments on some of my videos on this channel lately. But in my opinion, the length of pull is too short. So it just, I kind of feel like I want it to be just a little bit longer, but you really can't get it because the nature of this receiver. This is a stock that I think is borrowed from the Honey Badger, which is a more compact CQB weapon. But when you have a gun that's probably intended for longer distance, hunting, I like that longer length of pull and maybe have an adjustment that if you needed to go shorter, you could. But because it's telescoping, the length of this little guard right here over the buffer tube, it literally digs into my face, like right where I need my eye and my face to be to see through the scope. It's just right there, and it hits me in the cheek. And a couple of times it pinched me because we have this little like lip right there. And this guard kind of feels like it needs to be a little bit longer. In my opinion, if you want something like this, I think Q needs to redesign it where you can get a longer length of pull or where you can have this guard be a little bit longer. So for me, it just did not conform to my body very well. It actually made it a little bit uncomfortable to shoot. I also feel like the butt pad is a little bit too small. It needs to be a little bit bigger, maybe a little bit longer to give you more contact surface with your shoulder. I kind of feel like they're going for the Honey Badger look and feel, but an 8.6. But because it's 8.6, I think I want something a little bit more substantial in the stock, the part of the gun that you're going to interact with. And I even think for hunters, people that would be carrying this, I think those little additions would go a long way in making the gun a more comfortable and maybe useful or practical gun for that purpose. So that was my experience with the Boombox. And by the way, I know some people are going to ask, when are the full reviews of these going to be released? I have videos set for release 2 a week, and the weeks I have product reviews out until mid-October right now of 2025. That's how many videos I have in the can. So these won't be released until end of October or early November of next year. Yes, that's how many guns I've reviewed. It's crazy. But man, I really would like to have enough ammo to review both of these side by side, but I just don't think that's going to happen. But they are very specialty suppressors for 8.6. So, that was my experience with the Q Boombox. All right, set that one aside. Now, the other gun that I took to the range, let me see, where is it? Oh, here it is. Now this one, I was a little bit nervous because this puppy's in 300 Win Mag, and I used the same scope from the Boombox that I have on that now, on this rifle as well. So that's why I don't have any sights on it. And this is the Nemo Arms, and let me get the exact model. It is the Omen. The Omen, and this is chambered in 300 Win Mag. Yeah, I know that when they released this, it was, fascinating to a lot of people because whoever thought you could put 300 Winchester Magnum into an AR type rifle. And by the way, I had to change over a muzzle device on this because I wanted to run the OSS the Helix QD Magnum Titanium, and that's what I ran on this. And so I needed to change the muzzle device, and so I have like bench blocks and things that are for AR-10s, and I was thinking, okay, this has to be an AR-10. No, it's not an AR. It's bigger than an AR-10. So I guess you have to get specialty vice blocks. I was able to put I have also a rail adapter for my vice, so I was able to put it upside down on the upper receiver and lock that down to put on the muzzle device. But I guess you'd have to buy specialty vice blocks to be able to work on this gun because neither my upper or lower receiver vice blocks work on this because it's bigger than an AR-10. But yeah, 300 Winchester Magnum. So what did I discover about this bad boy? Now, the owner of this, Jack, he said, you're going to love it because it's going to have very light recoil. I mean, it's 300 Win Mag. I mean, how light recoil can you get? I'm actually very impressed with this. It is a direct impingement gun. It works great because it just has that same action that an AR-10 has, and it's soft recoiling. It really is. I mean, is it like an AR-15? No. But I would say that I've shot 308 AR-10s that are much heavier recoiling than this. Much heavier recoiling. I do like the fact it does not have a charging handle on the back, but you get a charging handle on the side. I do like that because it's, as I said, it's kind of like an AR, but it's not. We have some features that are omitted, probably because of the length of the receiver. Up here at top, there's no charging handles that anybody makes for it. If they had to make it, it'd be proprietary. But the gun works. Now, there was one issue with it, and let me see. I think I brought home the ammunition. I had to save the ammunition because of what happened. So there was a couple of times I would shoot, and I pulled the trigger again, and it went click. And I was like, uh-oh, what's happening here? Are we getting light primer strikes or something? Well, I found out... where's the box? No, that's not it. One of these has it. It's this one. So I found out that the force that this gun ejects with or tries to extract with is way too strong. So I was getting the rims of the cases literally ripped off. And if that happened, you couldn't extract the round. So I had to go back and look at the footage. I had my camera with me, and I had to look at the footage and make sure it didn't eject. So I knew that the cartridge in the rifle was spent. I could see that the primer was hit deep. And once I felt that, I was able to go get a kind of a bore rod, and I was able to knock the projectile out. I opened the action, locked it open, knocked it out. And this is what I was discovering. Now, this happened 2 or 3 times, and let me show you this. You can see on that edge right there. Man, that extractor is like ripping that. And if it rips these cases, you cannot extract that round. There, it happened again. I'm sorry for my camera phone here, not getting a good... see if I can get it to... See if I can touch it and get it to focus. There it goes. Yeah, you can see how it's ripping that round right there. Gnarly. Yeah. The other thing I noticed with some of these rounds is when I picked up the brass, you'll notice that on some of them, I guess when it comes back to the ejector, we're getting a really hard strike on the case back here. And some of the cases have big old dents in them. So the force that this bolt is coming back with is a lot. I mean, it's exceptional. And so if it comes back maybe with too much force, or maybe if the case expands a little bit, it could rip that rim off, or it hits the ejector. Yeah, but that was an issue. And I think over time, that could be a problem. So I did save the brass for that just to show in the review. But I did have a couple rounds stick because of ripping off the rim. See, I'm trying to think of what other issues. Oh, and that reminds me about spent casings. The Boombox, this thing throws the brass. Oh my gosh. In fact, I am so thankful that I have kind of a backup camera. My good friend David, who's a big fan of the channel, local fan and subscriber, I'm very appreciative of him. He recently bought the channel a new Sony vlogging camera. It was kind of the same one I was using, but it was because the older camera I had gotten dropped, and like literally it's on like its last leg. Like literally when I use it for all the range stuff, not here at the house. But I take it to the range, and like when I turn it on, like I literally have to like pull the lens lens out. I know it gets stuck, and the like little aperture or the like little lens cover that's supposed to automatically, I have to like pry that open. Man, the brass here, wherever I put that camera, it just beat that camera to hell. It beat that camera to hell. So I'm so glad that I have that. I don't think it's going to last another range trip. One or two range trips, but I'm glad because I'll have to go back to using my nicer one for the range stuff. I wanted to kind of limp that one along as I possibly could. But this thing throws the brass. In fact, when I was reviewing the footage, when I was looking at the camera, you can see that brass come right back and hit the lens. And a couple of times I would look and it had hit the window, or the little flap that comes over where I can see what it's filming. Oh man, yeah. So anyway, that's what I experienced with all these. So that was my recent range experience. So I got 3 things that I need to write the bullet point scripts for and start reviewing this week. So, yeah. All right. So that is what's going on. So let's talk about a couple of other things here. I'm going to make sure this does not tip over. There we go. I did want to talk about a couple of comments that I got, actually 3 comments, 2 that were kind of mean. And by the way, I'm going to have to compile the mean comments that I'm getting because somebody disagrees with either my analysis of what happened with the United Health CEO getting shot, or my comment about, murder is murder. It doesn't matter if the person was good, bad, or how you feel about them. We live in a society of laws, and you can disagree. I understand that you might not be the biggest fan of United Health or the CEO or whatever. I mean, I have no stake in that game, in that race. But I was just saying, as good people and what I think we should be as moral and ethical as possible, and to look at it that we should seek justice and not seek revenge. But anyway, there were some people that were really mean, but there were a couple that I wanted to talk about. So I got the computer out here and wanted to share those with you really, really fast. Actually, one was one of those kind of mean comments, and then one actually goes back to a video on my main channel where I talk about Matt Hoover. And if you don't know, and I know this is another one of those controversial topics, because I always felt that when it came to Matt Hoover, while I don't think he should be languishing in jail, I don't think that what he did was bad or he deserves all this prison time and all this kind of stuff, I also feel like he poked the bear. There's a right and a wrong way of doing things. And when people push the limits, you have to expect consequences. I always use the example of, it is your freedom of speech to go out onto a sidewalk and scream expletives in public. Okay? It is. It is your right to do that. And so maybe a First Amendment advocate would go out there and say, that's fine. But if you go out there and let's say you do it outside of an elementary school when kids are leaving and you have these kindergartners through 5th graders coming out of school and you're yelling expletives at them and calling them names, well, it might be your right, but don't be surprised when people get upset with you or law enforcement finds something to go after you, to get rid of, if that makes any sense. And that's the way I feel like Matt Hoover, did. He didn't want to fight. He didn't fight the NFA and say, you know what, I think machine guns should be legal. I think machine guns should be legal. I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to fight. I'm going to, raise money for lawyers and to fight or to file lawsuits. And no, he wasn't a hero like that. He created this little auto key card that, he called it an auto key card, or I guess he was the salesman or whatever for it. And it had the outline of an auto. Regardless if the ATF was able to get it to work or not, we all know he was telling people to scratch their full auto itch and, essentially telling the ATF could, go F themselves. Like, what do you think they're going to do? And this is during the Biden administration when the DOJ is out of control. What do you expect? I mean, there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I am all about supporting people that are heroes, that get caught up in things that, they didn't want to get caught up in, just like the woman in New Jersey years and years ago that had a Pennsylvania concealed carry license and went into New Jersey. And then when she was pulled over for speeding, did what she was supposed to do in her state is, tell the law enforcement, hey, I have a concealed weapons license. Here's where it is. And she got arrested. Now, of course, we all she didn't deserve a day in jail because her intention was not to push the limits. It wasn't to be anything, and we all get behind her and wanted to help her. But when it comes to Matt Hoover, I was not a big fan of that. So I got a mean comment, and I wanted to read that to you. And by the way, I think we're far enough in this video, almost 30 minutes. So I can say a couple of bad words because he says a couple of bad words in it. So I thought that you guys would want to see the kind of things I have to deal with all the time. So here we go. And these people get banned anyway. But Goon911 Still Fightin' said, "You are a cuck. Just found your channel and your video hasn't aged well. Try and twist you completely gobbling federal knobs with the COVID is wild. Your nutsack looking ass is the same person that complied with those same COVID mask wearing people you referenced. The big difference is you running right to the feds when it was a clear push against our rights. You reference taxes and compliance, etc., completely ignoring rights that have already been taken away versus rights activities being taken away. You are a grifter. Simple. Well, first off, that's not all grammatically correct and kind of difficult to read and understand. But if a grifter is someone that's trying to make money from stuff, if you follow the Texas Gun Vault, you know that this is a losing money proposition. Okay, I do this as a hobby and a passion project, and so the main channel, essentially, when it's all said and done, and everything, I lose money. Okay, between my time, ammunition, it is a complete mess. So anyway, that's what's been going on with that. And I have to deal with comments like that all the time. All right, so the next one is kind of a taste of what I was getting on my video recently about the assassination of the CEO. 11 Bravo 80 says, another overweight slob going to give gun advice. I bet your next video about eating... I bet your next videos, which, by the way, videos is a plural word here. Terrible grammar. Okay, if you're going to insult people, at least know how to spell things and use right grammar. Okay, I'm not the best writer in the world, but I do have a doctorate degree, and I did have to write a dissertation. And yes, it was a struggle for me because I always like to paraphrase what Donald Trump once said. I've written more books than I've read because I am not a visual learner. I'm an oral learner. You tell me something, I'll remember it forever. Like, I never studied during any of my seminar classes when I was getting my doctorate. I didn't understand why other people had to study and take notes. I'm like, just listen. And then I took the VAX test, which is like the visual oral, was it kinesthetic? Anyway, it tells you what type of learner you are. And when it comes to the way I am an oral learner. So you tell me, I listen to it, boom, I remember forever. But anyway, I know that sometimes writing can be a struggle for people, but they need to do that before they insult others. Anyway, says, I bet your next video is about eating healthy, huh? Clown. Well, it's okay if you think you're a clown. It's okay if you don't like me. I have realized that in my 44 years of existence, regardless of my intentions or what I would like, there are people that just don't like me. Okay, and that's both in my personal and professional life, and sometimes it hurts me a little bit because there's people, while I'm not trying to be their best friend because I know they don't like me, I still try to be cordial and polite to them. And for whatever reason, whether it's my voice, the way that I look, the way I hold myself, they don't like me. But on the other hand, there's a lot of people that do, and it just goes with the territory, I guess. It makes me sad, as I say, because if I was trying to do something to someone, I'd understand, but I don't. But anyway, overweight, okay? Am I a little bit overweight? Yeah, I could probably lose about 10, 15 pounds. But I think most people are in that situation. I'm 44 years old. But also, I've also reached the point where I realize I like food. I like food a lot. In fact, when I get done here, I'm getting ready to go grill out some chicken wings. Yeah. And that's going right here in the belly. I'm telling you, beer and chicken wings, that's what's happening tonight. But anyway, so instead of, having some type of dialogue with me about the guns that I was talking about, all they can do is insult me. Okay? I mean, obviously, it doesn't bother me because I know this sounds arrogant. I like who I am. I think I'm a pretty cool guy. I always joke and say, if I was somebody else, I'd like me too. Or I'd want to be my friend too. Or I would say, I don't care if you're talking good about me or bad about me, just as long as you're talking about me. And they're talking bad about me, totally fine. But yeah, so I just had to just ban those people. But I just don't like to have to deal with that stuff. All right. And then finally, there was one last thing I wanted to talk about before I let you go. And that is a couple of people brought up an amazing point that I've mentioned here on the channel in various videos. And they pointed out, and I had totally overlooked. And this is a great comment. This is an A+ comment. Rudy Powell 1277 says, too much coincidence between a professional public kill with a silencer and recent appeals to repeal federal silencer legislation. And I said, good point. There always seems to be interesting timing. I should make my next video on this. And actually, I really should. But I've mentioned this. It always seems like any time pro-gun legislation is working its way through the legislators of various states or the federal government, or even if courts are taking up certain things, it always seems like something happens that would affect that. And I'm not saying there's some type of conspiracy, but it's always very convenient. Always. very convenient. It's the same thing happened when Congress was going to vote on the Hearing Protection Act to repeal silencers on the NFA. What happened? The congressional baseball shooting and attack. And of course, that stopped it, and that was it. It was done. It always happens this way. And yeah, we've been making a lot of inroads on repealing laws on suppressors. A lot of, of course, this happens. Okay, so do I think right now with the change of Congress and I think that, no, I don't think anything's going to happen negative. It just might take a little bit of the wind out of the sails on the moving the ball towards our side of the field a little bit more. So anyway, that's all I got for you guys tonight. A little bit of talk about stuff from the past. Lots of first impressions. Remember, this is not a full review. This is just my first impressions. I literally got back from the range 10 minutes before filming this. And talk about some mean comments and a great comment. So there you go. So thank you for joining me here in the garage. A little bit long one for tonight. And sorry, we're back to the old mundane stuff. But this is the videos that I enjoy making. So if you made it to the end of this video, and you want to participate in the word of the day, so I know you're a true vault dweller. The word of the day is impression. Impression is the first word the word of the day because that was the first thing we really talked about. The first impressions. Impression is the word of the day. So use that in a comment. I know you watched to the end, and I appreciate it because I know that I am boring and dull. And this is a geeky channel, okay? It's a geeky channel, but I want this to be a channel for average gun guys to talk about guns that they like and make it like the water cooler at work. And that's what this is. So, and if you're not subscribed to the main channel, please go to the description below, go over there and subscribe. So thank you for joining me. I hope you enjoy these. And as always, thanks for watching.